For the historic Army-Navy football game, we're talking to sports writer John Feinstein, who has spent decades encountering sports legends in every arena. John joins us live now to tell us all about his new book, One-on-One. John, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure, Adam. Hi.
Give me a little bit about what we can expect out of this book.
Well, it's really a professional memoir, I think is the best description. Season on the Brink, my first book, came out 25 years ago this month, and I wanted to do two things with this book. I wanted to go back to many of the people I had dealt with through the first 27 books that I've written. This is my 28th, starting with Bob Knight, because it all started with him for me, and the beginning of the book it describes how I first approached him about doing what became a Season on the Brink, and there's a twist to that story. And then I go on and talk about my encounters with people like Mike Krzyzewski and Dean Smith and Jim Valvano and John McEnroe and Yvonne Lendl and Bobby Cox, Joe Torre, Tiger Woods. But I also write about some of the people who I've dealt with who aren't famous that way. And you mentioned the Army-Navy game. There's a lot in this book about the young men who I got to know so well in 1995 when I was researching the Civil War. I went back and saw many of them, and in fact the book ends with a story about some of the Army kids that I dealt with, many of whom have been overseas, as have the Navy kids too. But it's a tragic story because it involves the death of one of their wives, but it is also a story about bonding and camaraderie and all those cliche terms that happen to be very real when you're dealing with these young men.
John, as a journalist, I have to ask, what inspires you to keep writing book after book after book?
I love what I do, Adam. I get paid to do things that most people would pay to do. I mean, people would bid thousands and thousands of dollars to be in Mike Krzyzewski's locker room or Bob Knight's locker room or get to walk around inside the ropes with the greatest golfers in the world and go in the locker room and on the driving range and talk to them. I find it fascinating to learn about people who are great at something, what makes their minds work, because it's their minds as much as their bodies that make them special, regardless of what the sport is. So I love doing what I do. I'm still fascinated by it, and as long as I feel that way, I'll keep writing books, as long as somebody lets me keep doing them. I'm very lucky that way.
All right, John, well, we look forward to the book. Thank you so much for joining us.
Adam, thanks for having me. Happy holidays.
You as well. Once again, the book is called One-on-One, Behind the Scenes with the Greats in the Game. John Feinstein, thanks for joining us, and thanks to Little Brown and Company for this satellite time. Well,